Okay, we're going to go back in that Friday Lab Sessions folder, but there's a new file, graphing confidence intervals. So hopefully you still have that other data file we had been using. Hopefully you still have that one up, and we'll open this new file up. So what you'll notice in there are two tabs. One contains a template for confidence intervals for the proportion, and the other one contains a template for confidence intervals for the mean. Now you don't have to use this file. The only reason I am making it available is if you wanted to consider putting your confidence intervals on a graph. So let's just do a really quick example. So we'll go over to that other data file. Let's just grab some data. Maybe we'll describe GPA, because we've already looked a little bit at GPA. So maybe you still have your pivot table, maybe not. But let's make another one really quick. And I want to look at GPA. Same thing we had before. And this time I'm going to copy the pivot table. And we've done this in class. And I'm going to jump back over to that graphing one. And we'll make sure we click on confidence intervals for the proportion. And we'll paste it right in there. So what we're going to do is compare the 3.5 to 4.0 students to the 3.0 to 3.49 students to the 2.5 to 2.99 students. So we have three categories, and here it's just, there's no magic. It's just a place for you to type in the point estimate and the sample size. I was even nice and I put in the formula for the standard error. I even put in the formula for the critical measure and margin of error and upper limit and lower limit, because I know you've already suffered through them. So all you have to do is put in the appropriate point estimate and sample size. So for this top GPA category, there are 36 out of 117. So we could just type that in. You could pop in your 117 sample size, and you'll look over to the graph and you'll see we have a bar at about 31%. What about that next GPA category? 42 out of 36. Or no, 42 out of 117. And then the third category that we'll do, 33 out of 117. Now, if you wanted a fourth category, you could go right ahead and add it on, but I didn't do that. Now, what you'll notice, what happened? Everything else filled in. Standard error, the error level, the critical measure, the margin of error, everything else is filled in. So we'll go over to the graph, and you'll see that we have confidence intervals and estimates on the graph. And yeah, you might want to change that title to GPA performance or something. I don't know. You might also want to change the way it looks. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe you want, something like this. That's great too. That's awesome. But what this graph gives you, it gives you a visual, and you could actually say, since, if we're comparing 22 to 40% to 27 to 45% to 20 to 36%, they're all very similar. And if you look at the confidence intervals for the three categories, there's still quite a bit of overlap. So you could say that, the top three GPA categories contain relatively the same proportion of students, because there's really not that big of a difference. That's one thing you could get. If you click on that error bar and then right click, there's an option to format the error bar, so you can get as creative as you like. Again, you don't have to use this sheet if you don't want to. If you go look at the confidence interval for the mean sheet, same thing. All you have to do is put in input data, the point estimate, the standard deviation, and the sample size. I calculate standard error. I even put in an if statement to calculate your critical measure. So if your sample size is small, it's going to use t-critical. If it's not small, it'll use z-critical. So everything's in there for you if you want to use it. If not, don't worry about it. However, I would like to see you play around with it. But when you are done, be sure you upload your work. I want to see that you use the t-critical formula, and I want to see you play around with that, with the graph a little bit. There is a new Dropbox, October 25th, because this assignment is due tomorrow. Well, it's not really an assignment, it's an exercise, but this is due tomorrow. So hopefully you will get a chance to do it. Have a great day.